Welcome to Reddit After Hours. This is r/PettyRevenge, where OP gets this entitled Karen hundreds of dollars in tickets. Our first Reddit post comes from Meanderist, titled Petty with the Breaker Box, Rude Neighbors. I lived in an old house with multiple apartment units. I had the entire first floor and access to the basement near a side entrance. The upstairs neighbor hated me for reasons never clear to me. When I would start a shower, I could hear them run to the bathroom to flush the toilet, which would cause the shower to briefly only run scalding hot water. They also played loud music and jumped around at random times. I learned to start the shower, but not to get in until after hearing their toilet flush. I had politely asked them not to play loud music late at night and tried being nice until I found my motorcycle pushed over. It was always chained against my stair railing with a cover on it. Now, I couldn't prove that it was them, but it was out of sight from other people, and it seemed logical that they did it. One day, the power went out, and the landlord asked me to check the breaker box on the basement stair near my unit. It was just a local power outage, but it gave me an idea. When their music was loud, I would shut off all the power to their unit, not the other units, just theirs. When I was getting ready for work, I'd step down the stair, flip off the breaker, and enjoy the silence until I was ready to leave. Anytime they were loud, I would cut their power. The neighbors continued to stomp around the apartment and tried to scold me in the shower, but the noise was never an issue again. The peak of my retaliation came on a very cold winter day when I realized that the units had separate furnaces located in the basement. I turned theirs off and waited. The landlord called to see if there were any issues and said that he would come look soon, but couldn't get there until much later. I turned it back on just before he arrived. The landlord asked all the tenants if they were experiencing any issues, but everyone else said that it was fine, and he never figured out that I was the culprit. Now, I'm not proud of my pettiness, but still smirk when I think of this. OP, when you live in an apartment like that, you have to expect, right, that there's going to be some noise between the units, but that is completely unreasonable and unacceptable. And then to purposely try to scold you all the time, that's just freaking cruel. I don't know why anyone would do that. But yeah, OP, I wouldn't not be proud of this at all. In fact, I would have done the exact same thing probably if I was in your situation. I'm sure a lot of other people would too. You know, it comes back to the common phrase, right? Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Our next Reddit post comes from Red Phantom 000, titled Sit in My Seat and Refuse to Move. Enjoy being uncomfortable. Last week, I took a flight from Athens where I'd been visiting relatives to London. It was a late flight and I was exhausted and the plane was full. I was in a window seat, which I had chosen so I could rest my head against the walls and sleep. But when I got to my row, there was a guy in my seat. He had big headphones on and had his head turned away from me. I tried telling him that he's in my seat, but he doesn't respond. Thinking maybe he can't hear me because of the headphones, so I gently tap him on the shoulder. No reaction. I try again and still nothing. He doesn't even turn towards me. Edit to add that he's clearly not asleep. He's sitting upright and I could see that his eyes are open. I consider calling over a flight attendant to ask him to move, but there isn't one nearby and I'm not in the mood for a whole thing, so I just take the middle seat and quietly fume. A few minutes later, the young woman who is sitting in the aisle seat arrives and takes her seat. She is traveling with her friend who is sitting in the window seat in the row behind us. They are talking to each other from across their seats. Then the woman sitting in the aisle seat turns to me and asks if I can swap with her friend so that they can sit together. I say, sure, no problem. Now at this point, it's important to point out that her friend is very large, borderline obese. Now, I'm not fat shaming, I'm a heavy guy myself, but she is at least twice as wide as me. I probably would have swapped even if she hadn't been large, but I saw a chance at revenge. As I get up to move, I see the guy sitting in my seat has turned around and realized what is about to happen. He does not look happy and gives me a look like he's saying, "Please don't move." I ignore him and swap seats. I spent the flight mostly with my eyes closed as I try and fail to get a nap. But I do occasionally have a look at the row in front of me, and I am very satisfied to see that the large woman in front of me is taking up nearly half of the window seat as well as her own seat, and the guy in my seat is squashed up against the wall of the plane. I hope he spent that flight thinking about how if he'd taken his own seat, he'd have been able to swap with the woman and I'd have been the one pinned against the wall. Maybe next time he will think twice before taking someone else's seat. Hell yeah, OP. Now, I'm not trying to fat shame either, but he got exactly what he deserves. Not only did you get your window seat back by switching with that person, but you got like the pettiest revenge. And like, that's so ironic. Like, I love that that happened to him. Like, you steal someone else's seat and then completely ignore them because you know you're in the wrong. Because when you tapped him on the shoulder, he was just like, "I'm just completely going to ignore you." Like, what a freaking butthole. Got exactly what he deserved. Good for you, OP. Our next Reddit post comes from Various Olive 5072, titled "Mess with My Kids and Find Out. Bye-bye Truck." So I, a 34-year-old female, have lived in a nice part of conservative Oregon State for 5 years, and this is not an easy state to be accepted in when you're a family of 4 from OC SoCal. It's like we've been transported to another planet, and shout out to parents, it's been awful dealing with staring parents at the school bus stops. Oh my God, they stare at my style, hair, and tattoos like I'm an alien. I refuse to wear leggings, so it's like they take that as a personal insult. I've always avoided a lot of them and kept a polite distance. I get my kids and I bail. But there was one mom who was kind of like the leader. I even heard her say once, "Yeah, I'm the neighborhood mom in case blah blah blah." She drove her husband's huge truck and thought that she was like the best thing ever, revving it up and down the street. Our apartment complex was so close within eyesight of the bus stop that I walked it with my kids every day to teach my kids not to be lazy and not to be afraid of the weather. I always kept my distance, but what made my skin crawl is the woman couldn't park the truck. It was the first in-person school year since COVID, and she was parking on the sidewalk directly in front of the corner that the bus pulled up to. I was the only parent that walked each day despite the weather. On one particular day, there was snow on the ground, and she and one of the other creeper moms were sitting in the truck with the windows down, so I actually stopped and said, "Hey, do you mind not parking on the sidewalk? It's kind of hard to get by." Completely calm, just a passing comment. She immediately responds with, "I drive a big truck, deal with it." I was not expecting that reaction at all. Her friend was closest to me on the passenger side and frantically tried to roll up the window, but at the last couple of inches, I came out of shock and said, "Then learn how to drive it," then walked away. The next day, I walked up to the sidewalk and there she is in the rain, now blocking the sidewalk. I called the non-emergency police line and they said that they will keep an eye on the corner for afternoon drop-off. When the afternoon comes, there is a black Tesla sitting there with gray lettering that says police. This truck grunt pulls up on the sidewalk, not seeing him, and she's bumping to 2000s techno and has kids jumping around. He walks over and talks to her and then leaves. I then get a call from the officer to offer some comfort, I guess. He gave her a ticket for driving with kids not in their seatbelts and gave her a warning for parking on the sidewalk, forcing people to go around her into the street on icy ground. He told me to call him again if she keeps doing it and to stay away from her because she's an angry person. Now, I don't see her until next week, and guess where she parks? So I call the officer's direct number that he had given me, and he comes within minutes, pulling right along her truck. All of the parents are staring, but I do notice that the friend that had been in the truck is now staring at me. I stared straight at the street ahead of me, praying for the bus to appear because I was trying not to laugh. Now, I have always left these women alone and kept my distance. It's been a couple of years now, and one of their sons even went up to my son and told him, quote, "Did you know that your mom is a bad person?" I never did anything. I never approached the parents, and I completely ignored it, and I used it as a lesson for my son. Now, I found out how far her new tickets have added up to. She racked up $800 in tickets. She has not gone to the bus stop since. I eventually figured out that she does still live here, and I haven't seen her at the bus stop since the second cop interaction. But I still see her driving around. Now she drives an ugly little gold Honda. I am the last person that she wants to screw with, but hey, if you won't stop, what can I do? And then OP adds, update, the story of the truck. After the final ticket, she stopped showing up at the bus stop. But I eventually figured out that she still lives here because she drives by every day in the morning and in the afternoon because her kids still go to the same school and she's still on the same schedule. I see her on the same driving schedule and she stares at me over her shoulder. But I don't know how she could know that I had any effect on this situation. This year in 2025, I have seen her at some school events with a new man, so I don't think that the husband just took the truck away on timeout. I think the husband left her at some point and literally took the truck with him. Now, I know that parking on the sidewalk might not seem like a very big deal to a lot of people, but, at least like when I park in the driveway, right? Like I always try to be courteous of like other people, thinking, what if like some handicapped person tries to come by using the sidewalk and they're in a wheelchair and like they physically can't go around my car. Now I've just created something like really inconvenient for them, and that's not fair to them, right? So even though it seems minor, hey, good on you for doing something about it. And she sounds like a complete pretentious, entitled butthole. I'm almost kind of not surprised that her marriage didn't seem to work out. Our next Reddit post comes from Pierce in Verarity, titled My Extremely Tiny and Petty Legally Blonde Moment. My 3-year odyssey of spite finally came together yesterday. When I was a fresh college grad in 2022, I dated an attorney for about 3 months. He was a talented lawyer and spoke lucidly about what he did for work, and I trusted his opinions about the legal profession. So I finished a post-grad internship and told him that my real post-grad aspiration was to get a job at a law firm as a paralegal and to work as one until I was ready to apply for law school. He literally scoffed at me and told me that I would be better off as a court clerk. Now, I don't mean to harp on court clerks at all. It's a very difficult job, but it's more administrative in nature. And from the way that he said it, it was exceedingly clear that he meant the comment to be derogatory. He didn't elaborate on why he said this, but it was implied. I was taken aback and really, really hurt, but at 21, I hadn't learned to have a spine yet, so I just brushed it off. A few weeks later, I was working my first paralegal job. We broke up shortly after for reasons that I'm sure you can guess. Anyway, he was right that I'm not going to be a paralegal. I took my LSAT last fall and scored in the 98th percentile. I sent out my apps and committed to UC Berkeley Law yesterday. Ranked about 90 spots above his law school, but who's counting? And I'm going to become a lawyer. He is currently blocked on LinkedIn after I was the recipient of some profile creeping from him. But today I'm going to unblock him so he can see. Definitely reminiscent of the scene from Legally Blonde where she gets a prestigious internship. Quote, remember those hours we spent in the hot tub on spring break? Well, this is so much better. OP, they say the best revenge is a life well lived, and it looks like you're living your best life and achieving everything that you're setting out to do so far. Good luck in law school, and I hope everything goes well for you. And screw that guy. That was Reddit After Hours, bringing you r/PettyRevenge. Thank you all so much for listening, and if you like these videos, like and subscribe as we post a new Reddit video almost every single day.